I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Matt once again, welcome back to another review. This is another Patreon review for Bra It's Stipe. Once again, he graciously put up a high tier on my Patreon, so he's getting quite a few reviews. I thank you for that if you're watching. And not sure if he's a fan of this film or not. It's called The Hole. At first I thought he was mentioning the Joe Dante film. I believe there's one called The Hole, but this is a 2001 film. That's more of a psychological drama type of flick. And so it just wasn't my cup of tea, to be perfectly blunt and honest. It just wasn't my cup of tea. Mainly because the story, it just didn't care for any of the characters at all. The idea behind the some films you watch, you go, it just isn't for me. Now, the story, it stars Thora Birch. Now, Thora Birch, I think at this point she had done American Beauty. I know she was in the film Hocus Pocus. She's the star of the film. The first scene is her in school, crazed, screaming into a phone for help. Psychiatrists are recognized. I believe it's Embeth Davidtz, the lady from Army of Darkness. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Nice to see her. And Thora Birch starts telling the story what happened. That she had this friend who she would joke around and say, well, you're more like my gay friend than my boyfriend. And she was having a huge crush on the jock, played by Desmond Harrington, who I remember the most from Wrong Turn. I thought he did a really good job in Wrong Turn. But then there's the jock that she's passionate about, in love with. There's her nerdy friend, Martin, who's seems like a manipulative type of guy. Then you have Keira Knightley. She's in the film. And 4 people decide to stay in this bunker, and the Martin guy is going to close, and he'll come back to open it later. And down below is Thora Birch, Keira Knightley, Desmond Harrington, and another guy. And the film, I'm trying to remember if the inspiration is Rashomon, if that's how you pronounce it, Rashomon, in which you take an event and you see it from one point of view, and then later in the film you go back to it and you see it from a different point of view. So it's like you have the same situation and it's replayed, but each replay is two very different things, different circumstances. I think that was an inspiration for the film Vantage Point, which is a film I quite enjoy with Dennis Quaid. And granted, it's not like this film. That one's more of an action thriller, but I still prefer that over this one. So the first time she tells the story, she tells about how she's kind of shy, nerdy, hanging out. Martin doesn't come back, her friend. Thora Birch mentions she likes Desmond Harrington. Trying to fake people out to try to get the door open. Really not much happens. And she mentions how they got out the next day. and everything's fine. And I guess the other people are missing, so then the cops are talking to Martin. That's pretty much the first half of the film. And I'm watching this, I'm going, I don't really care for these characters. Sometimes the accents, the British accents were a little bit thick that sometimes I couldn't understand what they were saying, or maybe it's just the slang terms are just too dumb for my redneck brain to fathom. But I just wasn't really getting anything out of it except sometimes some little decent direction that the director would do. But other than that, I didn't really get anything out of the picture. It's not because I'm against psychological dramas. I mean, I love Jacob's Ladder, the original. That's one of my favorite films ever from 1990. I really enjoy Session 9, among other films. And Session 9 doesn't really have the happiest ending, but I really enjoy that film. This, though, you see the other point of view, and for some reason, I don't know why, because Thora Birch is, in the spoilers, if you don't want to know spoilers, but it's the only way I could talk about it, she's crazy. So halfway through the film, even though it seems like she'll get away with it perfectly fine, she just decides to start telling the psychiatrist what really happened. It's not like the psychiatrist found out, you're lying, you're full of it, I'm going to prove it to you, now you tell me what happened. It's nothing like that. It's just Thora Birch, she just starts admitting to the psychiatrist what happened for some reason. I didn't really understand that justification other than Thora Birch is crazy, I guess, and we gotta have her other point of view. This is the truth point of view. Maybe if someone else was found and then they tell their point of view, maybe I think that would have made a bit more sense, or I don't know, just what I would have preferred story-wise, but that's just me. But Thora Birch talks to the psychiatrist again. This time they're both in the bunker because Thora Birch went back. Psychiatrist found her there. I forget how the psychiatrist found. I think she was chasing her. I forget. So when Thora Birch tells the story again, she tells about how she wasn't really the outcast. She was one of the mean girls, bitchy, manipulative, and she was really close with Keira Knightley. And that she wasn't, the nerdy outcast, outsider. She was within the group. She was one of the higher-ups of the group. And then the four of them go down the bunker. And the key to get out, she locked it. And she pocketed it. And even though Keira Knightley, which that's another thing, the film for me did not establish well the amount of time or days that went by. There were times that for me it felt like it was the same damn day. That was just one day. I really didn't get a sense of a lot of time passing by. To the point Keira Knightley dies of a heart attack and something to do with her bulimia. And then the two guys fight because one had a can of soda. And then very quickly, the other guy, Desmond Harrington, just bashes the guy's brains against the floor. Very quickly, too. Like, wow, that went ape shit real quick. That's what I mean. I didn't really get a sense of this build-up. Maybe it's trying to be a Lord of the Flies type of thing. Instead of an island, it's this bunker. But I didn't really get a sense of that build-up, wind-up, and a sense of time, of day after day. But you see Castaway. Granted, completely different type of movie, but you really get a sense of the time that has passed. Even filmed like 127 hours when he's stuck there against his arms trapped. You get I thought a better development of the time. Here I didn't really get that, so it just seemed like, well, wait a minute. That seemed to escalate way too quickly. I wish you get the line, I killed him for a fucking Coke. Yeah, Desmond Harrington says that to Thora Birch. I killed him for a fucking Coke. Okay. Thora Birch, I guess the reason she locked it in the first place was to get Desmond Harrington to love her, and this is her chance for them to fall in love. Just when he finds out she's up the ladder, he tries to climb up the ladder, conveniently breaks, and then he falls and dies, and she's sad. And then the end of the film is just the cop comes down, and immediately Thora Birch goes, she was trying to hurt me, the psychiatrist, she's trying to hurt me. And for some reason the cop, I don't understand this, he goes to the psychiatrist, you're in deep shit. Why? If it told why, it bypassed me, and that's how little of interest I had with the story. And also I'm thinking, these cops are really stupid. Like, is there not a single cop to think, maybe she had something to do with it? Everybody is suspect, which is what would happen. But yeah, Thora Birch gets away with it, and the movie's over. So yeah, I didn't care for the story. I didn't care for the plot. The whole telling the point of view twice. I didn't care about any of the characters, so I didn't care who died. The sense of time I didn't really get. The escalation, the build-up of the drama, Lord of the Flies style. I didn't really get a sense of that in this movie. And just overall, it just wasn't my cup of tea. So I apologize, Broad Stipe. I don't mind reviewing films that are good or bad. Again, for people who send me Patreon, PayPal, that's kind of gesture. It could be any movie I'll check out. Hey, at least I checked it out. Wasn't my cup of tea. We'll never see it again, but there you go. So the whole, I was being an asshole because it stinks. You put your nose up it. Not that I know from experience, but I could guess. The whole did it, bury it. It could kiss my asshole. I mean, I don't know how many stupid jokes I can make. Funny enough, there's another kind of a, well, I guess a little bit of a thriller that he mentioned, wanted me to review, The Glass House, which, while predictable, I actually liked. And I'll talk about that in a bit. But this one, again, wasn't for me. Either way, thanks for watching. Thanks once again to Broad Stipe. Anyone who ever wants to support me on Patreon or PayPal, the links are down below. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. And we will see you in the next video. Later.